Hey, what's up everyone? My name's Chris Winter and today I'm going to do an in-depth comparison and review between the old 50mm f1.8 Mark II or nifty 50 and the brand new 50mm f1.8 STM lens. Now the 50mm f1.8 has long been known to produce some fantastic image quality, but always struggled with its build quality and its autofocus. It just wasn't very good. So it'll be interesting to see just how it stacks up to this new STM version. And I'd just like to say a big thanks to Brisbane Camera Hire for letting me rent out the nifty 50. And if you haven't seen it yet guys, make sure to check out my top 5 list of the best prime lenses for under $150. I'll put a link in the description box below. This STM lens makes it, but it doesn't come in at number 1, so go check it out and see what does. Anyway, let's compare these two lenses and see which one comes out on top. It's probably going to be this one. So to start off with, let's take a look at the build quality of these two 50mm lenses. Now the old nifty 50 was well known for being a cheap lens, but also a cheap feeling lens. It was made pretty much all out of plastic, hence the name the Plastic Fantastic, and feels a little bit like a toy. Now on the other hand, we have the new 50mm STM, which really does feel a lot more polished. You know, yeah, it's still light, but it does feel a lot better. Another of the nice new inclusions on this 50mm STM is this metal mount. Whereas on the old version we had a plastic mount, this new one has this full metal mount, which really does help keep the longevity up of these lenses. And it's nice to see Canon moving in this direction with a lot of their lenses, because I know that the 24 STM and the 40 STM both have that metal mount, and it's nice to see. We've also got a much nicer focus ring on the STM version. You know, whereas on the nifty 50 we had a very small, a very fiddly focus ring on the front, on the new version we've now got a wider, smoother focus ring right where it needs to be. Other than that, we have a 48mm filter thread on this new STM version, whereas we had a 52mm filter thread on this old version. And little things like the autofocus, manual focus switch, they've been improved. And you know, they're all little things, but they do add up. And I think Canon have done a really good job with the build quality of this new STM version. Now, like I said in my full review of the 50mm STM, this isn't a macro lens, but the minimum focus distance has changed around about 10 centimeters. Whereas on the old nifty 50, the closest you could get was around 45 centimeters away. Now on the new model, you can take photos around about 35 centimeters away. And in practice, it might not sound like a lot, but I've actually really enjoyed getting a little closer to my subjects on this 50 STM and getting some nice detailed shots. And once you crop your images, you can actually get some really nice close-up shots on this new STM lens. Hey guys, I've also got my hands on a Canon 50mm f1.4. If you'd like me to do a comparison video between these two, let me know by leaving a thumbs up on this video. I want to quickly talk about the noise of these two lenses. Now, if you know anything about the old nifty 50, you'd know that it's got a very unique kind of noise when it autofocuses, almost like the sound of a high-pitched bee or something like that. Unfortunately, on the new STM lens, it's pretty much all gone. Now, I did make a full video comparing the two sounds, and as you can see here, the difference is massive. And in video mode, it's even more silent. And if you guys want to see that full video, I'll put a link right here so you can check it out for yourself and see the big difference in the sound of these two lenses. Another of the big new announcements with this STM lens is obviously that new STM motor or stepping motor, which should result in faster autofocus in both video and stills mode. On the old nifty 50, I never found the autofocus to be particularly slow, especially in good lighting conditions, but it was very noisy and sometimes it did hunt if it couldn't find focus. I did find it very slow in low light though. So let's now do a quick test to see the autofocus difference. I'm going to start off with the 50mm f1.8 Mark II. I'm going to focus on a few of these vintage cameras and we're going to listen out for that autofocus beeps just to see how quick it is. So as you can hear, it's not particularly slow, but it does sometimes struggle and it's very, very noisy. Okay, so here we've got the new STM lens and we'll do the exact same test. Best if I put it into autofocus mode. Let's do that test again. It's so much faster. Still a little bit of noise, but as you can see, there's really no hunting going on. Autofocus for video on the old nifty 50 was, in short, not very good. Even if you're using a camera with a fantastic autofocus system built in like the Canon 70D or T6S, it was very slow, it hunted, and it was also very noisy. So let's now test out that video autofocus performance. I'm going to start off with the 50mm f1.8 Mark II, and we're going to be using a Canon T6S, which has got that new hybrid autofocus system. As you can hear, it's really quite noisy. And it is able to lock onto the subjects. There is a little bit of hunting, but you know, it does really struggle, especially if you get a little bit of a close-up subject like that. It's just so noisy. It's definitely going to be picked up on the onboard mics. Let's change over to the new STM lens and see just how much better that is. Okay, so we've got the new 50 STM on. Let's see how this focuses in video mode. So it's much quieter first off. It does seem to be really quite quick. Not a lot of hunting going on. There is a little bit of noise, but nowhere near as much as the old nifty 50. Especially if you pair this up with something like the Canon 70D, I think you're going to get some really good video autofocus results. Now, one of the other changes on this lens is an upgrade from 5 aperture blades to 7 rounded aperture blades. And when I first heard about this, I wasn't really sure if it would make a big difference, but you know, it definitely has. Whereas in the old nifty 50 it was more of a pentagon shape with 5 sides, now in the new STM lens it's much rounded bokeh, and it's something that I'm really starting to like. And if you guys want to see that full video, I'll put a link right here. You can click it with your mouse and it'll take you there. Let's now take a look at a few sample images taken with these two lenses. Now on my testing, I found that both of these lenses really do take fantastic photos with that very shallow depth of field. You know what? There isn't a massive difference in terms of image quality between the two, although I would say that the new STM version is slightly sharper, especially wide open at f1.8. One area which has been greatly improved though is chromatic aberration. I really did find it quite hard to see much chromatic aberration in the new STM version, whereas on the old version it was quite a problem. Of course, the bokeh is rounder on the new version, which is nice to see, and I also did find that flaring is kind of reduced as well. But in general, guys, both of these lenses are really going to produce some really nice shots, very unique with that very shallow depth of field, and the major difference really is in the build quality and autofocus speed. So there you go, guys, that was my review and comparison of these two lenses. I really hope you enjoyed it. If you did, make sure to leave a thumbs up, because that's always appreciated. Now, which one should you get? Well, if you already own this one, you probably don't need to upgrade unless you've got the money on hand, because they're going to take very similar images. If you're going to be buying your very first lens, don't get this one, get the STM lens. It's definitely worth it. It's a fantastic lens. I really do like it. Guys, make sure to check out my top 5 list of the best prime lenses for under $125. I'm sure you're going to get something out of that. I hope you have a fantastic day. I'll see you in the next video. Bye.